Welcome to NOLA.com. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you as the Saints fall to 5-9 as they lose to the Detroit Lions 35-27 here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And let's be honest, I was a little stunned that the score even got as close as it was, considering how the Saints started. Offensively, couldn't get anything done. Defensively, looked like the same old defense, Rob Ryan defense that we saw. And then Detroit kind of came back and started to play like we've seen them play throughout the year, and then the Saints outplayed them and played more like they had been all year long. And so both teams really just kind of stumbling down the stretch.
Yeah, probably not the matchup the Monday Night Football crew anticipated when they scheduled this thing last spring. Two losing teams and kind of two teams that played like losing teams tonight. I thought the Lions kind of dominated for most of the night and then kind of let the Saints get back in it. The Saints did fight back, but they're just not good enough, to overcome something like that. And their defense, again, kind of reverted back, as you mentioned, to Rob Ryan. I mean, I was looking at the numbers, and the Lions averaged 7.8 yards a play. I mean, you're just not going to win any games when you give up that kind of efficiency on offense. Matt Stafford, 22 of 25, 88% completion percentage, the highest completion percentage of his career, and the highest passer rating of his career. And we've seen that movie before here.
Oh, we've seen that with far worse quarterbacks,
right?
And we saw it with Matt Stafford. Big story probably that we're going to be covering following after this game. Drew Brees is going to have an MRI in his foot. We mentioned it right before we started filming this thing. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up on injured reserve these last two games. Why risk him at this point? What do you think?
Yeah, and it sounded like he feels like there's something wrong there. He said he was stretching it out and he played on it, that it was going to swell up if he didn't. Just his voice, the way he sounded to me like he might be done for the year. We'll see how that MRI comes out. But in some ways, maybe it gives the Saints a chance to look at Garrett Grayson, their young rookie quarterback, because, look, this season's over with. It's been over with since yesterday, and maybe they get a chance to kind of give some hope for the future, because this is going to be the heir apparent to Drew Brees, and I think Saints fans would probably like to see that.
How much are you surprised at the way they come out and play pretty well against Tampa and then really just kind of revert back to the same old Saints that we've seen a lot this year?
I know, and it was disappointing, I think, the way they started. I mean, the offense, which had been playing very well, really was dominating the first half. I mean, they had 3 points, really a bizarre series of plays there right before halftime. Couldn't punch it in from the 1 yard line. That kind of summed up the entire frustrating day. But, they got dominated, and this has happened a lot this year along both lines of scrimmage. They couldn't run the ball very well, and yet conversely, the Lions come in here last in the league in rushing. They run for over 150 yards, average 6.5 yards a carry. That's the most they've averaged on the ground in over 4 years. So, wow. I mean, it's just a complete no-show by the Lions, and that's where games are won, in the trenches.
And their running backs, even when they're running well, decided to fumble the football, give the Saints a chance,
right,
and they still can't convert.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why the Lions are the Lions. I'm sure their fans at home were, dying as the Lions allowed the Saints to kind of get back in this thing. Fumbled twice, got lucky to get one of them back.
Right.
But I just feel like the Saints, I think they weren't, completely dead, didn't show up. They just didn't play well, and they were getting beat up front. And when that happens, I mean, it's going to be a long night. And Matthew Stafford got hot and got confident, and it was lights out.
And honestly, 2 more weeks, and then the real offseason begins with the future of a lot of players and potentially the future of the Saints head coach. So, of course, you got 2 more weeks, though, of Saints football on the field. So for Jeff Duncan, I'm Larry Holder. Thanks for joining us here at NOLA.com, and check out all of our coverage of all things Saints as they'll host the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 16 back here for the regular season home finale in the Dome. Once again, thanks for joining us.